it's nice to meet you. Are you in New York?
Yeah, I'm in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, so it's good to meet you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry
let's.
about last time. I got confused with the time zones.
Yeah, no worries. It's all good. Yeah, first world problems. We're good. It's nice to meet you, man. Thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure, my pleasure.
So let's dive into it. Before we get into music for your soul, I just kind of want to touch a little bit on, one of the bigger things that musicians had to overcome recently is getting through the pandemic. How did that change you? How did that change and affect your life as a musician and what you do today?
The pandemic for me was strangely a positive period. At first, I lost some gigs that I thought were going to really help me to get into the scene because it was my first year in New York. Uh, but I remember I lost some festival and Blue Note engagement, two gigs at Smalls with Bill Pierce, saxophone player. But then I was living in a house of musicians, and we decided to stay all together during the whole pandemic. And I basically practiced as much as I could. I wrote music. We played together each other's compositions. So that's what we did. And definitely during the pandemic, I understood that I had to create some projects of mine, and so after that, or towards the end of the pandemic, this club called Ornithology opened. I don't know if you heard of it,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and it's very close to where I live, so I started playing the very first gigs there before it became such an important place for the music scene. And so first I started playing there as a sideman with different musicians, and then they started giving me gigs for my own band, and I started bringing my music and my projects. And yeah, then I used to make videos. I still do. I record some of those gigs, and then if there's a tune that I like, I put it on YouTube. And this photographer and engineer Jimmy Katz from New
Yeah.
York, I don't know if you know him.
Heard the name.
Uh, he was watching my videos, and then he wrote me. He wanted to record my band, and so that's how actually we did Music for Your Soul.
So talk to me about this album. How does it feel? What was kind of the overarching kind of the vision that you had for this project?
So I wanted to. um I have a few projects in mind, and this was the first one that I wanted to, uh, you know, finish. So I had some of these tunes that I was writing. I felt that they were good for that ensemble with Ben Solomon on tenor and Adam on drums, and Chris came a little bit later, but he was great from the very first gig. And so we started playing. I started always. We started doing rehearsals and trying different tunes and playing them on the gigs for a year before we recorded. So we, everyone had a personal take on each tune. So once we recorded it, the musicians already knew the music for a long time.
Yeah.
Usually you make the record and the musicians do the rehearsal for the record and then you do the record. But in this case, I wasn't even really thinking of making a record yet. It just came, and the musicians already knew the music, so we recorded two different nights. I think one was in February and one in April, I think, and of 2000. I don't remember. It's written on the CD. I don't remember anymore. 2022, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
2023, maybe 2020. I don't remember. And um, yeah, the idea was just to work on some original material, some music that represents what my ideas about music. So having a like clear melodies with harmony that moves following voice leading and all that kind of stuff, and having these musicians then taking those tunes and deconstructing them, in ways that I didn't even think that could happen. For example, the title track, what I thought it was gonna be completely different. But since the very first time that we played it, Adam, the drummer, played in such a way that I never even bothered to tell him, oh, why don't you try this? We just played it like that, and now we always play it
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that groove.
So, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Um, I hope that the listener. Uh, that's a very interesting question because everyone gets different things. So um, I hope that the listener can maybe understand what my ideas about music, but obviously everyone is gonna have a different um, perspective. The music is there, but then I kind of regret sometimes of giving titles to the tunes. You just have to give some titles because otherwise people cannot remember them.
Yeah.
But like when you put a title, maybe people think that it's supposed to be that,
Yeah.
and you are supposed to feel that. But if you listen to something and you don't know the title, then it might bring you to another place completely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope that regardless the title, the listener can have a personal journey while listening the album and finding their own conclusions about it.
So, how did this journey into the music, the bass, jazz, all of the good stuff, take me back to where you were born and raised and how that became a start for you that has evolved into this career?
So I grew up uh, in the in Sicily,
Okay.
where I lived in a very small town where nothing was happening. But my dad is a classically trained bassist. He studied in Venice, and he wanted to study bass because of Charles Mingus, but then he turned to be a classical bassist. So in my house, we always had a lot of CDs and records, LPs of both classical and jazz, plus other stuff. But the really two big collections were those two, and I always thought that jazz for me was my mission. First, as a listener, I just spent so much time listening to jazz without really knowing what was going on, but it was my passion, and I remember being a bit, self-conscious about it because I was the only kid in school in Sicily, in this 3,000 people town, not even in a big city. In a big city, maybe you have like a local jazz school or whatever, Um, you can go see concerts, whereas where I grew up, there was none of that. So, but it didn't stop me, the social pressure to just be a little weird and just like do my own thing by myself, and spend a lot of time just putting record after record, CD, and reading all the encyclopedias and the stories and the things. And then when some big star would come to play, my dad, I will ask my dad to bring me, because we already had internet, so I will always look for jazz events in my island.
Yeah.
So I saw Ahmad Jamal, I saw Ahmad Jamal a bunch of times. I saw Herbie Hancock, I saw Larry Willis, um, Benny Golson, a bunch of others that I can't remember. I saw Ron Carter.
Wow.
Um, so this is how I grew up. And then I was practicing saxophone, but then I had some teeth problems, so I was not really interested in the instrument. I wanted to just be part of this music, so I switched to piano and studied piano for a while. And then my dad told me, "Why don't you study bass? You can study with me, and there's not many bass players that play good, so maybe if you become good, you get a lot of work." And also my piano teacher, who was teaching me jazz as well, he also suggested that. So then I kept playing the two of them for a while, and then I really focused more on bass. And then I think I started playing around at the age of 15, 16, the bass. Maybe my first gig was when I was 16 or something like that. And then I spent so much time just in my living room with records and learning all those tunes, just from the record. And the usual thing that people that start to be serious do, put a whole record, learn the whole record, then another one, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So was it always your dream to come to America? You came in 2015, got a scholarship to Berkeley, went to Boston. Was that always on your radar?
So when I was around 10 years old, I was reading the Miles Davis autobiography, even though my dad didn't want me to, because it's very graphic.
Yeah.
So like every time that he would be sleeping or something like that, I will read and really enjoy it. So he will always talk about the first part, about the 52nd Streets and all the clubs that were there. So it was definitely a dream to be part of the New York scene.
Yeah.
Um but at that age, I didn't know how that could be possible. I would think like, when you are that age, you think about time machine and things like that. But then I did a Berklee summer camp, a jazz camp, and then they gave me the first scholarship to go to Boston. Was for a summer program for kids that were still in high school.
Yeah.
And there I met other people that were really, really good, and some of them are still my friends today, and we still play together. And there I got the scholarship to study there for for college.
Yeah.
And I was already thinking to do just one semester and then try to move to a school in New York, because even though I didn't really know about it, I kind of understood that maybe it was better to already go to New York. But then in my first semester, really started to play in all the best ensembles and stuff. And so I decided to stay. I found a really friendly environment. But then when I got to New York, I understood that my intuition was actually right. I should have come here already so that I didn't have to hustle again and meet again all the people and stuff. But then it worked out after a little bit, you know. Uh, and I love New York so much. It's not only for the music, but I like that there is a lot of stuff going on in the arts, and there's people from many different places. I love this about New York.
So, what was the first show that you saw in New York that blew you away? When you finally got here?
Oh yeah. So the first show that I saw in New York that I understood, okay, this is how you play jazz, was when I actually still lived in Boston, but I came to New York for I think it was spring break or something like that, and my friend. He's older than me. He's like 10, 15 years older than me. But he was in New York. He was doing Juilliard, and he's a bass player. He was kind of a mentor to me because he was already studying with Ron Carter, and he was playing with Joe Farnsworth and all these people. He brought me to see George Coleman
Wow.
at Smoke, and he was playing with Harold Mayburn, John Webber, and Joe Farnsworth.
Wow.
And then I understood, okay, this is that.
Yep.
It's not like people trying to do that. It's actually that.
Yeah.
So I remember feeling that energy in my stomach. It's a similar energy that I felt playing a few times with Johnny O'Neill or with this Italian pianist Dado Moroni. I don't know if you are familiar with this guy.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
He is a jazz pianist in Italy who lived in New York for a while. He played with Freddie Hubbard, Ray Brown, with all the jazz greats. And also I remember the first time I played with him when I was still, I think, 17. It was the same energy that I felt, and I felt with him, with Johnny. I felt it that night, and maybe once again another time, but not many times.
Yeah.
So the time I heard that concert, I felt it.
So, speaking of venues and dreams, you come to America from Italy. You're in this the biggest spot on the planet for jazz music. What was
Hmm.
the first stage that you played on where you're like, I can't believe I'm on this stage in New York City?
But in New York, the place where everyone wants to play is Smalls, you know?
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I played at Smalls was a big accomplishment for me, but also before that, I think I played at the Jazz Gallery for Kenny Barron's birthday.
Wow.
And Ron Carter, which was already my teacher, was in the crowd. So I remember being very nervous. And I remember everyone in the band was nervous. And yeah, these two things I think were, you know, uh, when you are in doing all these things, you think, oh, if I do that, it means that I'm really good. It means, if I win a scholarship, I'm really good. But
Yeah.
then you win it and you think, oh, I won it. Really, do I really deserve it? I don't think I deserve it. So then the same kind of thought, unfortunately or fortunately, I mean, it applies every time like you play in a big stage or in a stage that in a club that is important because of, I don't know, to get the respect of yourself, mainly to respect yourself more. You play in in a place like that or with someone that is someone that you look up to.
Yeah.
then sometimes you understand that I don't know, it's very few moments that the music is actually really happening, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not definitely because of the club where you played. I
Right.
had some of my best gigs were gigs where no one was listening, and it was maybe in a bar, but the music was really happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you play like the dizzies, but the music is not really that happening.
I dig it. Yeah.
So
I get what you're saying. So, after all this time of being a musician, what do you look forward to every day waking up? What is the best part of being a professional musician?
for me, is to study always.
Yeah.
I think that all the income that I do is to have the opportunity to be close in my room and study.
Yeah.
Either is piano because I still practice piano, and or is bass, or is writing something that might be a little bit better than what I wrote before. Learning tunes, I still love to do that. I love the American songbook, and I think that every jazz musician, regardless their style, they should dive into that, because just like the blues is the core of jazz, it's
Yeah.
where all the musicians started getting ideas to write new songs, you know. The best example is I Got Rhythm, uh, you know, where everyone took those changes and wrote their own line on top of those chords, and wrote so many rhythm changes. But the American songbook is a treasure, and is also what jazz was for so many years, that you cannot avoid checking out Harold Arlen or George Gershwin,
Yeah.
Rogers and Hart, all this kind of stuff. But I forgot what we were talking about. Oh, yeah, why what I look forward to do. Yeah, every morning I wish that I have time to study, sit and practice, and hopefully that brings me to come up with something, that a project that I can uh, develop.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of things that you fail. You know, you practice some
Sure.
stuff, you learn about some stuff, but then doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's the research that in every field everyone does. You know,
Yeah.
a scientific field or whatever. Not all the researchers bring you actually somewhere. Sometimes you don't go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious, you had mentioned George Coleman and you've seen some pretty heavy shows, but if you could get into a time machine and go back and see one jazz show in the
Uh-huh.
history of the music, where would you go?
That's a tough question. I think I might want to see Art Tatum,
Yeah.
because to me he's still unbeaten by anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
If someone arrives and plays like that today, there's still so much to discover in that artist that will be modern. Art Tatum is like Scriabin or Liszt, is timeless.
I'm curious, at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Family, friends, all the fans, everybody that you gig with, but you run your life, your show. What is your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Uh, I think I am someone who is trying. Yeah,
That's
but
good.
didn't quite get there.
Yeah. So,
And I don't mean it in terms of Grammy nominated or
right.
whatever. I'd like to be every now and then proud of what I did, and sometimes it happens, but then that feeling goes away. So uh, I like being always trying.
Yeah.
Makes me feel that I still didn't develop myself fully. You know.
Yeah. So, where are you from in Sicily?
I'm from a very small town called Villa Rosa, which is spelled Villarosa, and it's right in the middle of the island.
Okay. My family, a part of my family came from Shaka, Sicily.
I know because I know your last name.
So yeah, it's Domino's big there, right?
Yeah, because
Okay.
when I saw your last name, Dimino, I was because my grandfather is from Shaka, so I
Oh,
know, I know that Dimino is from Shaka. My aunt, my great aunt, had one of her best friends was Dimino. Were
wow.
two sisters called the Dimino sisters.
That is so cool, man. You just made my day. I remember I went to Italy a few times. I went to Florence. I had a pen pal in high school, and she
Uh-huh.
was in a little town, Castle Ferentio. And I went to Rome and went around, and then I went back to Venice and went to Vernazza, and
Uh-huh.
Cinque Terre and all of that. And every time I went, my dad was always like, "When you find a phone book, rip the page out that has the Dominos on it. I want to see who they are." So
Uh-huh.
that was kind of an adventure for me back when they had phone books.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
it
of
probably won't
course.
happen. So
Yeah,
that's wild, man. It's such a small world.
yeah.
So let me ask you this: if anyone wants to pick up your latest album,
Uh-huh.
Music for Your Soul, or if they want to catch you live, they want to just look into your world more, how can they do that?
I have a website. I have a YouTube page with a lot of recordings. I have some recordings in my blog too.
Okay.
Also my big band because I ran also the ornithology big band. Sometimes we play one or two of my tunes also from the record, but I do have different things with that big band, and I have Instagram and all of these things. I'm pretty active on all the social media outlets.
Okay. Okay. This has been wonderful, Giuseppe. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with the release and everything. I'm looking forward to profiling you on Neon Jazz.
Great, great. Thank you so much. And